Success shouldn't feel this exhausting. If you're winning on paper, but burning out behind the scenes, you aren't failing. You're stuck in a psychological bottleneck called a hurdle of stop. I've been there. On the outside, things look great, but I was secretly burning out, convinced I was just lucky, and waiting to be exposed as a fraud. I realized I didn't have a business problem. I had a mindset block. Whether it's imposter syndrome, perfectionism, or fear or failure, these aren't just feelings. They are growth bottlenecks. Identify your specific hurdle and get one immediate action step to regain your momentum today. Go to tuepodcast.net/quiz. That's tuepodcast.net/quiz to take the 3-minute assessment and get your report now. This is an Undiscovered Legacy production and proud member of Pod Nation Media Network.
The imposter syndrome is actually a monster that I use, and it's a lot like a mimic, because the imposter syndrome basically constantly changes the way that it appears, but it always becomes the thing that you want to be, but you don't think that you're strong enough to become. And so the easiest way to defeat the imposter syndrome is to become the thing that it is in front of you. And so what we do is we teach a lot about that. So that's an easy one there. Failure, to me, failure is always a trap. I love a good trap. And the way that we conquer failure is we say it's not a stop, it's a step. You can always disarm the trap. And so it's looking at it from a different perspective.
Are you ready to unlock your entrepreneur potential? Are you ready to break free from all the barriers holding you back? Then you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, your first step in getting across the start line. Let's get across that start line together, right here, right now, on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur. Salutations, school believers, and we're here again with another amazing entrepreneur. Today we're here with Paul. Hey, Paul, how's it going?
It's going pretty well, Scoob. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, get across the start line. Super appreciate you.
Not a problem. I'm happy to be here. This should be a lot of fun.
This is going to be a blast. I could tell already. But I do kind of have a semi-serious question to ask you before we get started here, okay?
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Are you a school believer?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you should have heard the scoop off we had just before we got started here. It was absolutely fantastic. We could have been doing it all day, but we wanted to make sure we took care of you first. So, Paul, right off the bat, I want to tell you, I could already tell we're going to get along great. I could look at the background and my nerd brain just explodes about what's going on behind you. So this interview is going to be amazing. But let's start with exactly who you are, what your entrepreneur adventure is, and how you actually got across the start line in your entrepreneur adventure.
All righty. Well, my name is Paul Pape. I am known as Santa for Nerds, and I earned that nickname doing about 20 years of custom creations for people all around the world, but also companies like Disney, Universal, and Nickelodeon. I am a fabricator and a designer of what would be considered custom collectibles. Basically, if there's something that you want that you can't find anywhere else, I'm the guy you go to for that. So that's really where my business has started. And then from there, I did, like I said, it's been 20 years. So I've done a lot of things within that time period. And one of them was I spent 6 years on Twitch. For those of you who aren't familiar with the platform, it's like YouTube, but live. I come from a theater background, so I really like the idea of doing live work with people. And so what I would do is I'd actually do my art in front of a camera 5 days a week for about 6 to 8 hours a day. And during that time, what I was constantly asked by the people watching my show is, how is this possible that you can be an artist and make a living at it? Like, how do you figure out to charge? All the questions that creatives would ask, they were asking me, and I was answering them over and over again. And at one point, I came to the conclusion that I should just do that, be the person who just answers those questions. And so on the side, I started doing a consulting job. And so I was consulting other creatives on how to do this. And what I realized throughout that brief period was that they didn't understand business at all. I could tell them all the answers. it just went right over their head or their eyes glazed over and it just became too much work. They didn't want to deal with it. And so I was hired by this company. They're a bunch of creatives. There's three of them. They're creatives. They have a dragon making company and they were doing really well. They were doing like 7 figures on paper. But then when I went to talk to them, they're like, well, we need you to hire you because we don't understand business and we're not doing well. I'm like, well, you're making 7 figures. They're like, yeah, but we're netting about $50,000.
Ooh.
I'm like, that's a huge discrepancy there. So I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And so I sat down with them. I went out to where they lived and we were doing a live consultation. I was sitting there with them and I asked them a simple question, what is it that you guys do within the business? And they look at me and they're like, oh, we do everything. All of us do everything all the time. I'm like, yeah, that's a great way to fail at your business. So why don't we say, what do you do specifically? What's your main job? And so they told me, and I'm like, well, how do you interact with this? And like, we don't know. I said, okay, how about this? I know you're nerds. I'm big nerd guys, and they're big into gaming. I'm big into gaming. And so I said, how about this? I want to come back tomorrow and we're going to, I don't know, play Dungeons and Dragons Business Edition. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it up. We're going to do a campaign, but instead of playing like a warrior or a mage or a rogue, you're going to play your role in the business. And the monsters that we're going to encounter are not going to be the traditional monsters. They're going to be monsters of things that you'll tackle in business. Things like the scope creeper, which is like a representation of the scope creep, things like that. And so I came back the next day and just kind of like was winging it. We went through, played for about 4 hours. And then after that, the CEO of the company, he's like, is this what business is? Because I think I finally understand it and it's a lot of fun. And I'm like, aha, I think I got something here. And that was kind of the birth of Gamified Business. And what we do with Gamified Business is I am basically a business consultant to creatives, but instead of talking to them about traditional business advice and structure, I turn it all into a live role-playing game, basically Dungeons and Dragons for business. And we do that. We go through, we create character sheets, which is who you are in your business. We figure out what your campaign is supposed to be about, which is what your business is about. And then we go looking for groups, which is why this looks like a tavern, because I play the barkeep. Because of course, in role-playing game, where do you meet the group? You meet them at the tavern, right? And so I play the barkeep. And so what we do is I go in there and we do these campaigns. And I work with that company. And they ended up, after about 6 months, they ended up quadrupling the amount of money that they were bringing in. And it's continued to rise ever since, which has been really great. And so that was really the birth of this whole thing. And that's how I got to where I am now.
What a fantastic story. And I love the idea of it too. Hey, Screw Believers, just so you know, that's not AI behind him, y'all. That is an actual setup behind him. He actually pulled that sword out earlier. See, he could touch it.
It's tangible.
It's tangible. It's
real.
I just wanted to get that out of the way because mine, not so much. Okay.
Right.
So, but the thing that really kind of sticks out for me, especially in that particular story, is how you learn to speak the language of your customer, right?
Yep.
The normal stuff isn't working. So we have to be able to speak to our customers in the right way for them to go have that aha moment, just like your customer had there. Oh yeah, now I get it. So when you're going along here, make sure you understand what your audience is actually listening to and understanding, because if they don't understand what you're saying, then it's just not going to work.
100%. 100%.
All right. And also, the monsters in business always has intrigued me, because I actually have several monsters that I've been trying to put a face to for the longest time as doing my podcast. So this is kind of for me, y'all. So I apologize. Okay, so the 4 hurdles to stop, the 4 things I always talk about: imposter syndrome, perfectionism, failure, and fear. If you were to put those aspects into, say, a monster or someone like that in your game, what do you think they would look like, or what do you think they would be like?
The imposter syndrome is actually a monster that I use, and it's a lot like a mimic, because the imposter syndrome basically constantly changes the way that it appears, but it always becomes the thing that you want to be, but you don't think that you're strong enough to become. And so the easiest way to defeat the imposter syndrome is to become the thing that it is in front of you. And so what we do is we teach a lot about that one. So that's an easy one there. The failure, to me, failure is always a trap. I love a good trap. And the way that we conquer failure is we say it's not a stop, it's a step. We can always disarm the trap. And so it's looking at it from a different perspective. We always come at our problems as especially with failures, is that, oh man, I screwed up. I'll never recover from this. What am I going to do? And we get it up into our head. Best way to accomplish getting over that would definitely be to look at it as a learning opportunity. It's education. And so once we figure that out, it becomes a step to the next thing as opposed to a stop. I've already forgotten the other two.
That's okay.
All right. So what are the other two?
That's perfectionism.
Perfectionism. Perfectionism is it would be like a golem of armor that is the most pristine, the most beautiful, the perfect type of thing, because that is perfectionism. But the problem is perfectionism is a hollow item. There is no such thing as being perfect. And so this beautiful, pristine armor that is alive and coming at you, the reality is it's filled with vapor. And so the easiest way to destroy that is to break it down and recognize the ghost that's inside. And what was the last one?
Fear.
Fear. Fear is one that we all have. I mean, unfortunately, that's just the dark, brooding thing. And the best way, I love this, the way that fear is applied in a lot of video games. I'm a huge gamer, is that it's always the shadow version of yourself. And so if I was to play against fear, the fear is me. Because the reality is, we always get up on our head again about how, oh, they're thinking this and the customer's not doing this and all that. But the reality is it's just you projecting. 99.9% of the time, people are not thinking about you as much as you think that they are. And so the big fear is you. And so the best way to deal with that is to understand who you are in business or in life, and then do a lot of self-reflection. And then it basically shines a light on the shadow you, on your fear. And you just see that really it's just your shadow that you've been chasing.
That's amazing. What kind of makes me think back a little bit is fear is actually a part of us. It's a part of who we are. So we really need to embrace that fear. We need to embrace that shadow. So the thing that comes into my mind, I remember watching Star Wars, a cartoon Star Wars, where Yoda was facing Dark Yoda. I don't know if you remember that one or not. And they would fight and fight and fight, and it was just a complete stalemate. But when the regular Yoda said something along the lines of, "You are me, and I accept you for who I am because you're part of me," he was able to not so much defeat him, but take him into himself. And whenever I think about fear, that's the first thing that comes into my head, is the understanding that as long as we can accept fear as part of who we are, then we'll be a lot better off, because without light, there is dark. Without dark, there is light. Cliche, cliche, cliche. But yeah, so that's what I think about.
Yeah. I mean, you're spot on there. I mean, and that's the big thing is like when creatives, because I deal a lot with the creative people, and every artist is a creative, but not every creative is an artist. So I work with a lot of people in a lot of different fields. But when they want to make that leap into entrepreneurialism, it's that fear of taking that first step, or of opening the door into new opportunities. It's always there, and it's always inside of us. And that is, it's laid, the groundwork for that is laid from the time you're born up until the time you make that decision to go. I mean, it's everything environmental, personal, everything that's piling into that. But the reality is exactly what you said. It is you. And so if we can make that first step, and the best way to do it is to be informed about who we are and what we can do, just like Yoda did.
Exactly. And then we got to get across the start line. That's what I call that. We got to, whether it's like a little dinky step, whether it's talking to somebody like you, Paul, or reading a book or something like that, we have to take that first step, because without that getting across the start line, there's no getting across the finish line. It's just how it works.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
All right. That's awesome. So I understand how you're working here, but I'd like to go back 20 years ago. Let's go back 20 years ago. What kind of made you think, okay, this is what I want to be. This is what I want to do. I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, I really wish somebody would ask me that question, because I still don't know what I want to do or what I want to be. But I can get you back to where I was at that
there you
time.
Go.
So 20 years ago, I was a college professor. I was teaching design for theater, and I hated it. I loved teaching the students, hated the bureaucracy that was the university system. And basically, I was looking for an out. And I just so happened to have a student. This is when the Nintendo Wii came out. I don't know if you remember that old gaming thing back in the day. And they had your avatar, and there was called a me. And he had asked me if I could sculpt him a me of himself and his girlfriend at the time, and as just like a gift. I'm like, yeah, sure, not a problem. So I made it for him, whatever. And what I didn't know, and again, this is really early in the internet days, and so it was before everybody had YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. And what I didn't know is he had taken pictures of it and submitted it to basically a blog called Super Punch. And it's big nerdy blog, whatever. And he gave him my contact information, and basically orders started pouring in, more and more orders. And what happened was I started making more money on a side hustle than I was at teaching, and I was loving it. And so the end of that school year came up, and I said to my wife, I said, hey, can I stop being a professor and try to do this like freelance art thing full time? And she thought I was crazy, but she said, look, I'll give you 1 year. And if you don't, then you go get another job. I'm like, okay, absolutely. And then I stumbled upon a viral idea like, I don't know, 4 months into it, and I made $50,000 in 6 weeks. And she's like, I think you got an idea of what to do here. And that was the beginning of this whole career thing for me. So it was really a matter of desperation. It was like I wasn't happy with where I was. It's not what I went to school. I didn't go to school to be a professor. I went to school to be a designer, really, but in theater. But then that kind of ended abruptly. And then I came up with an idea for a product, but then that one ended abruptly because of changes in technology. And then I found myself in that professor situation, and I just was looking for something that would allow me to be basically the hero of my own adventure rather than playing somebody else's game.
Oh, that's a great way to put that. I love that. And the thing that kind of pops out for me is when you want to start something, you could always, and do it just like you did, give yourself a deadline to come to a specific point to make that correct decision, whether you're going to go one way or the other. But you could always, if it doesn't fall back or it doesn't work out, you can always get another job. There's always plenty of jobs out there. There's lots of things you can do to fall back on. And the thing is, too, is it's not always as secure as you think it is. I mean, you're probably more secure doing what you're doing now than you would if you were working a regular job.
Yeah, my old professor job is gone. It got eliminated. So yeah, I would have been out on it on my own regardless. So yeah, you're not wrong.
And the thing that sticks out for me too is just because we start somewhere doesn't mean that's where we're going to end up. You got a degree in something, but you probably, if at all, you never used it. And if you did, it was only for a short time.
Correct.
But you ended up doing something that you love, and that's when we know we're working in our zone of genius. And that's a big, big part of what I talk about in my podcast is working in our zone of genius. Because if you're working in your zone of genius, you're doing something that you love, and you're going to do it forever. And at that point, you don't even care if you get paid. Paid is like, oh, I get paid to do this too? That's great. It's like an extra. But you get so much fulfillment from doing what you love, and seeing the faces of people light up will never equal the amount of money that you're going to get in your life, because it's such a great feeling.
Yep. At the end of the game here, when you're dead and gone, I'd rather fill a church with pews of people I've helped than to fill it full of the dollars of the people of the money that I took. Is really how I'd like to look at that. So for me, it is about touching lives. Unfortunately, money is a deadly asset that you have to have. We all got to earn our gold pieces. But the reality is if I could help everyone for free, I absolutely would. I'd make a horrible Batman because I just couldn't be the rich philanthropist. I'd be giving it all away.
I think we're all kind of like that in one way, shape, or form. So don't feel too bad about it. So given what I've talked about, as far as like the 4 hurdles to stop and things like that, what do you think stops most entrepreneurs from getting across the start line? I mean, what is your take? What is your experience? We're helping with other people get started on things. What do you think stops them the most?
Honestly, it's that inner shadow. It's 100% what it is. It's that beast telling them that they can't. I found that once I can get the snowball rolling, once I can get them to take that first step to get on the journey, then it just it just runs, because they're doing something that, like you mentioned, they love, they're passionate about it. It's that thing. It doesn't necessarily need to be their full-time job. It can start off as a side hustle. That's fine. But once you start getting momentum in it, it just runs itself. It's really getting them off the couch, getting them outside of their head, telling them that it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to start. We can perfect it down the line. It's all about just making that first step and working forward. That's the biggest obstacle that I run into people, because creative people have great ideas. Entrepreneurs have great ideas. And if it's not this one, it's this next one. It's not that one, it's another one. And one of the things that's a great like motivator is showing people who've had great ideas and sat on it, and then see somebody take that same idea, a poorer version of it, and come out into the market with it. And they're like, I came up with that years ago. And I'm like, yeah, but you didn't do anything with it. There's your motivation. Their next idea, be the person who put it out there so that someone else could be like, man, I had that idea, but they came out with it first.
And that goes into start something too. It's like, that's happened to me a couple of times. I do have to say that, where it's like, oh, I had that idea months ago. What happened? And the thing is when you have an idea, when something comes across you the first time, if you don't act on it now, then the universe will find somebody else to do it for you. Or because that's kind of how it works. The universe puts things out there for people to find, and if the universe thinks it needs to be, and this kind of sounds kind of weird, if the universe thinks it needs to be done and you don't do it, then the universe is going to find somebody else because it needs to be put out into this world. So why not you? Why don't you take that first step in getting across the start line and have the calling of the universe be you?
Absolutely. We're all handed quests. And if you don't believe us, I can give you a great example. If you've ever seen movies come out and they come out like, why is that theme like 2 or 3 movies at the same time? Where Volcano came out at the same time as some other movie. It's like the disaster movies always seem to come out in 2s and 3s. It's the same thing. The universe is putting the idea out there and people are latching on to it. And it's the same thing in life. I mean, everybody has great ideas and they seem to come out of nowhere. And it's not. It's the universe kind of throwing them out there. And it's just like finding a quest. The quest giver just, comes on high. The yellow box pops up in front of you and says, here's the quest, accept yes or no. And it's those people who hover on that. I'm not sure. Somebody else is going to hit click yes and go.
Oh, I love the I love the way you put that. That's so awesome. Because that happens to us all the time. We have to be able to press that yes button and not overthink. It's okay to think about it.
Sure.
But don't overthink about it because it's going to be too late.
Yep. Strike while the iron's hot. That's what they say.
That's right. And things start happening to you when you get across the start line. When you actually hit that go button, it's so strange how the world around you warps into something positive for yourself that's going to keep you going because people are starting to find you. Things are starting to happen around you because you put your energy into the universe house to say yes. Mm-hmm. Then suddenly, okay, he said yes, let's throw him this positive thing. Let's throw him, because that's what happens. That's what's happened to me 5 years into this. And I'm meeting people like you, Paul, which is absolutely fantastic. I got to tell you.
Thank you.
But other people too, like I've met Pat Flynn. I've met people at PodFest. I've done my first stage talk recently. It's been amazing. But none of that would have happened if I didn't get across the start line. And all those positive things just kind of like popped up. I didn't ask for it. It just kind of happened. And that's kind of how it works. At least that's how I think it kind of works.
No, it absolutely does. Opportunity begets opportunity. And it's because they understand there's a willingness to try. That's the thing that a lot of people don't grasp right away, is that when you make that first decision to just risk it for the biscuit, then other risks come at you. And you're like, well, I've already risked it once and nothing bad happened. Let's try it again. And what you're doing is you're just opening yourself up to opportunities, and then opportunities beget opportunities, especially when you're doing something that you're passionate about, because then people understand that enthusiasm that you bring to it. And they're like, oh, I want to follow that person. This person's always doing these great things. And so they'll throw, can you do this too? Yeah, sure, I can do that. And it just builds this momentum. It's really nice.
And if you do have a passion for something, there's always a way to turn it into something that somebody else needs, a service, or maybe even it's, for example, like I listen to 2 or 3 D&D podcasts, right? So they're making a living playing D&D. Come on now, really? There's nothing. Right. I mean, for me, there's nothing better than that. There can't be anything better than that to get paid to play D&D, right? So exactly. There's always like the one person that says, "Hey, I want to do games." Great. Do you want to make games? Do you want to? There's even playing video games. There is a way to make a business out of it, and to make money out of it, and to help other people to do it. So don't be afraid to get across the start line and see if it's something that's viable. Work in your zone of genius as much as humanly possible, and positive things will come your way.
Yeah, that's right. Do it.
Just do it, right? Be a Nike shoe and just do it, right?
That's right. Just do it. That's right.
Okay. So I know you've been on a couple podcasts before, and I'm sure you've always heard, what was your hardest pitfall? What was the hardest problem you went through? Blah, 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 blah. So I'd like to put a little bit of a spin on that. And what I'd like to know is, what's the hardest pitfall that you came across that you're proud of? It's a matter, like, I'm glad I went through this pitfall and problem because this positive thing came out of that changed everything. Do you have anything like that ever happen to you?
Absolutely. So, when I was just starting out as a young buck out there doing my first adventures, whatnot, I had gotten this job interview to basically design a regional campaign, an ad for a grocery store chain. It's like, sure, absolutely. So the guy who owned the grocery store. He's like, yeah, we're going to meet on this day. Here's my original idea. And it was for something called Major Savings. And it was a dancing, marching bear in a drum corps outfit. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I actually went and, I'm a guy who likes to do my research. So I went and did my due diligence and whatever. And so when I went and talked to him, I was like, hey, I love the dancing bear, but, there's not a lot of bears grocery shopping. So what we need to do is think about your actual customer. I said, like 96% of shoppers are female. So I actually had an illustration of my wife. And I'm like, like this, I think it should be this, not the dancing bear. And, this person could talk to women and say, hey, you're the shoppers of the family. You're here to save money, all of this. And it would just be like a one-on-one. And he's like, oh, that's a really good idea. What we'll do is we'll think about it and I'll get back to you. I'm like, okay, cool. Never heard back from that guy. 6 weeks later, I get a flyer in the mail. My wife's picture is on his flyer. Then her cartoon is on the television. And so I sued the guy because I'm like, you stole my art. You stole my ID. You stole all of this. And so we went before a judge and the judge is like, did you invent women? I'm like, well, no, I didn't invent women. He's like, all right, throwing the case out. And I'm like, okay. So as I'm leaving, the guy who owned the grocery store came up and he patted me on the back and he goes, next time, don't give away all your good ideas before you sign a contract. And I was like, wow, okay. So, I was at the time really kind of upset about this and I fumed on it. But then the more it started to sink in, I was like, wow, that's great advice. Cause I'm a helpful person. I would, like I said, I would help anybody for free. But then I realized that sometimes the person that you're helping is the Goblin King and they're there to stab you in the back. And so I was like, that's really good advice to know. And so what I do is I tease the ideas. I don't give out the ideas. And that's saved my bacon more times than you can count throughout my career. So I'm glad that it started when it did. Horrible that I went through it and I had to pay lawyer fees and it was all new territory for me. But now I can also give that advice to other people who are starting out. It's like, don't be so generous. Don't be guarded, but don't be so generous, because the thing that people are paying for is not the fact that you can do the work. It's the ideation. Ideas are worth way more gold than the person who can actually do the work. So just keep that stuff to yourself.
Yes, that's actually fantastic advice. And I'm definitely going to take that to heart too, because I'm a really soft-hearted kind of guy. And I'll sit down because I'm a coach, but I find myself like talking for these people for 2 hours on a free coaching, just giving them everything. I'm going like, well, now they don't need me anymore.
It's like I'm talking to a mirror. What is this? We should just be in Scooby voice right now because it's just, right. That's right. It's 100%. It's like I do that. I find myself doing that often. And the reason is because and I assume you're the same way. You genuinely want to help people. And that's why you do what you do. It's why I do what I do. And I hate to see somebody struggle. I'm literally working with a client right now. She's hemming and hawing over the price and the timing and all this. And I'm like, here's what you need to know. And I'm like, no, don't. But I'm like, it would be so easy for me because I have the information. I don't like to be a gatekeeper. And I'm just like, I just want to be generous with it. But at the same time, there's got to be something that makes us valuable in a way that somebody wants to pay for this. And unfortunately, talking is a really weird intangible. Like I could give you a book and be like, this is $50 or whatever it is, whereas advice from my mouth is a weird intangible. Like, how do you put a price on that? Especially when I'm willing to talk to you for free. So you've got to build in these safeguards. And what I find is that everybody has the same pain points, and we can talk to them about that without giving them the specifics that they need that they would have to pay for. Not that there has to always be the barrier of pay, but you know what I mean? It's just, but enough that they pay for it so that there's value in the thing they get. But I've also found, and maybe you'll agree with me on this one, that sometimes when you give the advice for free, they don't take it because it's valueless. And it's when you apply the price to it, it hurts them a little bit that they're like, I paid for this, I better do it. So. Yeah,
putting skin in the game for people, it makes a big difference. I've noticed that too in a couple of things that I've done. Okay, I'm going to give away a little secret here, y'all. I do have a podcast network called Pod Nation Media Network. And there's about 11 or 12 of us on there. Now, the guy I got it from, he literally just gave it to me. He said, here, I can't do this anymore. And he was doing everything for free. He was giving away everything. He was doing this posting. He was doing everything for free. And which was fine, but we weren't getting anywhere. That's just it, because we had made any kind of money at all to be able to get advertising out there or get anything. So once I started actually even charging just a minute amount, it's not a really big amount that I charge, just a little amount monthly to, keep the lights on, to be able to keep the services going. More now, we're actually seeing some affiliates come in. Now we're seeing a little more pull in our downloads and things like that, because now we have skin in the game. So being able to charge isn't so much about, hey, I need the money, but it's also a service to the other person, to give them the drive to implement what you're trying to teach them. Because otherwise it's free. They're just going to throw it away, or they're going to use, oh, that was good. Okay, I don't need this anymore. No, I paid for this. You know how hard it is for me to buy something and just throw it away? I keep it. I'm almost like a hoarder when it comes to stuff like that, because I spent money on this thing. So I kind of have that same kind of feeling when it comes to products and things like that, for services or even just coaching now, because I have a different type of respect for it. So that's kind of how I feel about it. That's for sure.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's exactly the thing. It's that little bit of pain that you have to incur to be able to make it. It's like growing, growing pains. It's all of those things that it hurts, but then we recognize that it has value, it has weight to it. Whereas the things that are waved in front of us for free, they don't have much weight. And so they can just flutter away, or they get tossed. I mean, if you've ever been to a trade show and you've gotten all the freebies that come in there and you put it in your bag and you get home with your bag and you're like, trash, because most of it isn't worth anything, and it's like, it was a fun experience in the moment. I liked collecting all the things. I'm a pack rat. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, I don't really need 75 pens. So, just tossing it, it's like, it doesn't have any weight. But if I had gone there and I paid money to get an autographed version of something, I'm not throwing that away. I won't put that on my wall. That's a permanent thing. Because it cost me something. It hurt a little. Therefore, it's the same thing with advice. So.
All right. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Paul. That's awesome. So what I'd like to do here is, if you came across a brand new entrepreneur that's just getting started, I mean, you met them in the coffee shop or in the dungeon, or however you want to put it for yourself, and you found out they're just starting an entrepreneurial adventure, what one good solid piece of advice would you give? What one good solid step would you have them take?
I ask them 2 questions. This is the answer. The first question is, what are you passionate about? Easy enough. Everybody can answer that one. This is the real advice. What do you do with that passion that makes you stand out from everyone else who has the same passion? That's the advice. It's the best advice I can give you, because once you know that, that's the seed to your business. Grab onto that, plant it, water it, pay attention to it every single day. It turns into the tree that is your business. So understand what your passion is and hang on to it.
And I see that's what you've done. You're passionate about, look, it's right here. Yeah. You're passionate about business and you're passionate about D&D. How do you mesh these things together to help other people learn what they're going to do? And how much more fun can it be with being in your passion of being a dungeon master or being a player or anything else when it comes to that? So that's fantastic advice.
Thanks. Yeah.
All right. So I have a tradition I have with all my guests. In the next 6 months, where do you see yourself in your company? Do you have a 6-month goal for yourself?
I do indeed. So in 6 months, I'm trying to get onto a live stage panel to really talk about this. So I am actually right in the middle of what's called the 1,000 Asks Challenge. I'm trying to ask for 1,000 things that I want out of my business. And some of these are like swing for the fences type of asks, and some of them are pretty basic. Like some of them were applying to be on some cool podcasts like this one, and other ones are like really monumental ones. And so for me, it's really getting in front of a public stage and playing this game live with some people in a full house. That's my 6-month goal.
All right, that's awesome. So what I'd like to do with you, Paul, is follow up with you in 6 months.
Sure.
See if you've achieved that goal and see, what other new experiences you've had in the business world. Is that okay?
Yeah, please do. That'd be great.
Awesome. Because you're not just
accountability.
That's right. You're not just accountable to me. You're accountable to all my school believers out there. So no pressure.
Oh, great. Love some pressure.
All right. Awesome. All right, Paul, this is your time to shine. This is a time where I want you to advertise yourself. How do we get a hold of you and all that good stuff? Okay, ready, set, go.
All right. So what you can do is you can get a hold of me over at gamifybusiness.com. That's GAMIFY business, Gamified Business. And there you can actually take a personality quiz, which can teach you who you are in business. It's a class assignment, so you'll find out if you're a wizard or a warrior or a sage. And then it'll actually send you a nice little deep dive into your personality. It gets free of charge, no fuss. So you can find everything there. I also sell 5 books, the Creative Player's Handbook, the Game Master's Guide to Business. I have a workbook that goes with the Player's Handbook. I also have Quit Selling Your Stuff. There's an expletive in there, but I don't like to say it on shows that I don't know if I can. And then the other one is Sell Yourself, which is the Bard's Guide to Storycraft. You can pick all those books up over at gamifiedbusiness.com. The 2 paperbacks are also available on Amazon if you'd like to pick them up.
Awesome. We're actually going to link all that into the show notes, so you don't have to go too far. All you do is just go into the show notes, click on the link, and you will see how to get those amazing, amazing books. Paul, this has been an absolute treat. This has to be the most fun I've had in a podcast in a really, really long time. So thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you, Scoob. I really appreciate it.
All right, Scoob Believers, make sure you stay tuned for the wrap-up. Okay, everybody, bye-bye. All right, that was a great conversation we had, Paul, today. Thank you so much, Paul, for taking the time to be on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur. I really hope you took a lot away from this. I know I certainly did, because this really combined 2 of my most favorite things, and that's business and business ethics and how we start businesses and Dungeons and Dragons and using our imaginations to do things. But what if we were always able to combine 2 things that we really love into something and kind of gamify it, turn it into something that you know you love and you want to do so much that you just do it over and over again, and it's all like a game. Just like Paul did when he turned business into Dungeons and Dragons, something that he loved. He gamified it. He turned it into something that was fantastic for him. It was just like a game. And you are able to do the same thing with your business. Turn it into something that you love to do. Find a way to combine 2 things or even 3 things that you love to do most and turn it into one solid, cohesive thing that you love to do. And remember that your biggest competitor isn't actually the market. It's the shadow version of yourself. Finding a combination, just like I'm talking about, a combination of the light and the dark together, because without both, you have nothing. Just like when I talk about imposter syndrome, fear, perfectionism, these are all dark things that we can turn into a tool, something that we can use in our entrepreneur adventure that drives you forward into something new, something great. But there's no way to get there unless we have the dark things first and have those moments where it seems bad at the moment. But if we run towards it, we jump over that hurdle, we get through the darkness and find the light on the other side. There is always a way to do it. Don't doubt yourself. Go forward with yourself. Find a way to get over the hurdle. And remember that the universe rewards us for saying yes. If we have an idea, if we come across somebody or something that has a fantastic thought to it, and we don't act on it now, we don't act on it right when we think about it, the universe will find somebody else to do it for you, just like we talked about in the podcast. And while we're sitting on our hands trying to make it perfect, somebody's going to build a lesser version of the idea that you had and then make waves with it. And you're sitting in the back wondering, that couldn't be me. Why didn't we do it? So let's take action on our thoughts. Let's take action on our ideas now before this universe gives somebody else the opportunity to come up with your idea. And with that, I want to say thank you very much, Scoop Believers, for another fantastic episode, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. And there you have it, future entrepreneurs. We've taken a vital step on the journey across the start line. Remember, every great business begins with a single idea and the courage to pursue it. And you've already showed that courage just by being here today. As we wrap up this episode of the Undiscovered Entrepreneur Get Across the Start Line, I want you to reflect on the path. You have to recognize the 4 hurdles of stop. Is it imposter syndrome holding you back? Is it perfectionism, failure, or fear? Identifying which one affects you the most is the key to unlocking your momentum. But here's the real secret. The hurdles are not in the way, they are the way. Every time you clear one, you're building the exact strength you need for your journey ahead. Until our next episode, keep pushing, keep dreaming, and keep jumping over those hurdles. This is Scoob, your guide across the start line. Remember, your future is waiting. I can, I am, I will, and I'm doing it today. Hello, Screw Believers. Let me ask you a real quick question. How many cups of coffee have you had today? 3, 5, 7? And let me guess, you've got a Red Bull in the other hand just in case, right? Yeah, I see you. Now, here's the truth bomb nobody wants to hear. You're not building a business. You're building a caffeine dependency. Listen, I get it. When you're grinding 12, 14, 16-hour days, you're building something from nothing. When you've got payroll to meet, investors to impress, and visions that won't wait. You need fuel. But what if I told you that the fuel that you're using is actually slowing you down? What if the very thing that you think is keeping you sharp is actually making you dull? Enter Rise Coffee. This isn't your grandma's mushroom tea. This isn't some hippie wellness trend. This is science meets performance. And here's what makes Rise different. Less than half the caffeine of a regular cup of coffee. But here's the kicker. You won't miss it. 6 organic powerhouse mushrooms, including cordyceps, what Olympic athletes use, and lion's mane, what Silicon Valley biohackers swear by. Sustained energy that doesn't spike and crash. We're talking smooth, clean power from morning to moonlight. Crystal clear focus without the jitters. Imagine closing the deal with calm, confident mind instead of the caffeine chaos. Gut health and immune support, because what's the point of building an empire if you're too sick to enjoy it? So here's the challenge to you. Stop borrowing energy from tomorrow. Stop running on fumes and call it a hustle. Stop wearing your caffeine addiction like a badge of honor. Real entrepreneurs optimize, real entrepreneurs adapt, real entrepreneurs win. You can't win if you're crashing at 2 p.m. while your competition is just getting started. Break the cycle. Head to risesuperfoods.com right now and use code PODNA15 for 50% off your first order. That's PODNA15 for 15% off. Try it for 30 days. If you don't feel the difference, if you don't feel sharper, calmer, more focused, more alive, then go back to your 6-a-day cup habit. But I'm telling you, you won't, because once you feel what real energy feels like, you'll never go back. Ditch the addiction, fuel your empire, and rise up. Rise Coffee, energy that builds, not burns.